Guys, this might be the second to last episode where you hear us having different sound qualities because Andrew's a baller and went out and got us more mics, which means you guys should support us on Patreon and subscribe to us on YouTube because those boxes Andrew's holding up are for us to have better sound quality. Andrew, what exactly do those do for those of us who don't know, aka myself?
So this is an audio interface. This is where you directly connect an XLR microphone. And in this case, we got some Audio Technica's AT2020s. See these little guys. So this is an XLR connection. It's not USB, so it's much higher quality. The XLR cables are still showing up. And what you do is you connect your microphone into here. You can control your gain, and it also acts as a monitor, so you can hear yourself. And gain is probably the most important part of mixing yourself. It's essentially like setting the volume before you do anything else. And then you can like I said, you can plug your headphones into here so that your computer knows to send all of your channels through here, including your voice.
Love that.
This is every band I've ever played in. We use one of these anytime we need to hook up a device to a soundboard. This is very similar to what you would plug like a guitar into, or just a straight microphone. Usually guitars use 1/4-inch jacks. You use slightly different boxes for that. But yeah, we are moving towards the professional, ladies and gentlemen. Now I got to move all this stuff.
Also, I don't know if you can catch on screen, but there's definitely some glitter underneath my eyes right now.
Christmas!
That's literally what I've been doing all day, is setting up for Christmas. I literally started at like 9 a.m. because I was like, we're recording tonight. We have a Patreon game night tonight, which again, join us on Patreon so we can do cooler things and have game nights. We do fun stuff.
Yeah, we do fun stuff.
Tonight's a StarCraft game night, actually, so it's going to be a good time.
I'm really excited. I think we have maybe like a third of the server. Like, the server's not huge. You could make it bigger.
That's what she said.
And it lit my face up because I am a premium white boy. But it was so good. It was so good.
That's fair.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. I got rum in my tummy. Anyway, I know. Oh, dude, sorry if my face is a little red. I had ramen with hot chili oil or hot chili crunch in it.
This is probably the first time in like the last 4 days that my stomach currently does not hurt. Like, I woke up this morning and I was like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I had food poisoning this week, so I'm excited to be not completely ghostly white. So
on a scale of 1 to 10 for our listeners, how close were you to going to the emergency room?
If I had thrown up one more time, I probably would have had to go to the emergency room.
That sucks.
I could not keep I couldn't get any fluids into my body. That first day, I think I only drank like 12 ounces of fluids.
That's not a lot.
No, it's not.
It's not enough.
Like, literally forced myself to take sips, and every sip I was like, if I throw this up, it's
it's game over.
It's curtain calls. Yeah, it's game over.
Oh, dude, I can see the glitter. That's really funny.
I'm fabulous.
So now that I have a 4K camera, I need to make sure my office is well lit and well decorated. My far wall, I have something that's going to go up here. I have this big canvas print that I really like.
Yeah.
But it's not up. So it's just a boring wall.
So because of how I have my office arranged, all you see is the closet and then the door, which means that it will usually stay mostly uncluttered. Well, in full screen, I'll see a little bit more of this. So you can see my printer, my air conditioner, and my desk. But it's it's boring stuff. It's not too much, but also I just hung this up on the wall today.
Nice.
Tatooine.
The beauty of the twin suns. That's gorgeous. Is that original Ralph McQuarrie concept art?
No, I don't think so.
It's just Star Wars adjacent art.
It's Star Wars inspired.
Nice.
The wife got it for me, which I put it on the left side of the wall, and she's like, don't you want it centered? And I was like, I'm going to get one for each movie. So no. I got to leave room for the others.
Got to leave room for the others. That's right.
And it has to go in order. I'm not going to do Tatooine in the middle of Hoth and Dagobah, or, Endor.
Yeah, it has to go in order, just like all Star Wars fans know how to count 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we're twin brothers here to bring you its new nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 94. Let me actually make sure today's recording date is up to date. Today is November 17th, and this episode is actually going to be released not tomorrow, but all the way on November 15th. Did I say November 17th or September 17th?
I don't know. They'll figure it out.
It's November.
They'll probably figure out when they look at their calendars and think, it's November. You dingus. Please comment, you dingus, down in the comments and roast my brother. Please and thank you.
If we get 100 people in the comments that say you dingus in the comments, I'll do 100 burpees. I don't know. What do you want from me?
Oh, gosh. I wouldn't wish that on you.
Not consecutively. Brother, the engagement.
Oh, no.
Anyways, starter question. 'Tis the season. What is a holiday drink you are craving this season?
Dude, I love hot alcoholic drinks.
Oh,
spiked drinks, hot toddies, Irish coffee, cider with Fireball, or hot chocolate with Kahlua, or Irish cream. Irish cream is delicious.
yes, it is.
It all warms my body and it warms my soul. I am a Christmassy.
Brother, same. We are cut from the similar cloth.
Ooh.
I'm a huge fan of coffee mixed drinks this time of year, mostly, again, because they're hot.
Yes.
I got a really slapdash infusion kit from Home Goods, I think, because we were there and I wanted to buy something for myself. And it was a espresso vodka infusion kit. And it was a bottle with beans, coffee, sugar, chocolate in it. And I infused some vodka into it, and it's pretty good.
Do you have any left?
Yes, I have plenty. It's not great, but it almost immediately made me be like, I could make this better and I could sell it. That was my instinctive thought. I was like, I could do this better. I could milk you.
So check out the Talk About Tatooine Etsy store for vodka infusion kits coming soon? ?
Dude, I hope so. Small tangent. In a world where we got the support that we wanted on the show and we could do this full time, we would probably have a cantina branch of the show where we focus on food and drink, because everyone eats and everybody drinks, and nerds do that as well. And they get even more excited about stuff. So that's what I would do. I have a bunch of different ideas saved to like different channels and stuff for future food ideas and drink ideas. So it's stuff I want to do. We really love science here. I love applying the scientific method to recipes because people will make their food look really good on screen. And then I'm like, I would love to just be like, hey, we're going to take the scientific method and just test this. Let's see if it's any good, and just like do a recipe rating series, a cocktail rating series, just like have a little bit of fun with it. But we need your guys' support. So,
Have you ever thought, watching shorts on Reels or like TikTok or something, watch someone make a recipe and you think to yourself, I bet that tastes horrible?
There's been a few times.
Because like the creator is invested into, this is a good recipe. So they have to bite into it. And if it's dog water, they have to just like muscle through it and be like, this is the best thing I've ever made. Even though they're like, oh my God, I'm going to barf. I'm going to barf.
I definitely bet that there's times that they've had to do that. However, I bet most of the recipes people put online, you would think they've tested them first, right? You would think that.
Maybe. I mean, the big content farms around recipes maybe don't have to. Because, I mean, there's definitely some like 5-minute craft type recipes or 5-minute recipes that they just throw stuff together and they throw it in an oven. They're like, look how delicious this is. And then they don't actually show people eating it. And I'm like, yeah, not touching that. Also, anything that precedes with 5-minute blank, I'm not touching.
Yeah, usually.
The amount of people who have gotten hurt doing 5-minute crafts is actually quite high. It's very troublesome because they're just like Russian bot farms where they just do stuff, put it online, and that's how they make money, is because they get really high engagement. And then people are like, yeah, I welded my finger off, like, because I tried to do this craft and I really hurt myself.
Great. Love that.
To our Russian viewers, you're great. Just unless you're part of one of these content farms, then quit it.
I was going to say, our Russian fans run Wahapedia, so an ever-present thank you always.
Yeah, that's a great website for the 40K players.
We're talking Star Wars today. That's a 40K reference. If you play 40K, you can get the references on wahapedia.ru, I think. So,
Yeah, it's a Russian website. Like, it's all the rules for free. Most of the codexes for free. Like, there are individuals who literally copy the rules word for word into an online forum so that you can search it. And it is hands down the best 40K reference out there.
100%. Could not agree more.
This is not a 40K episode. It's not a it's not a cooking episode, and we have not talked about our topic at all. Real quick, thank you so much for joining us. This HoloNet broadcast is brought to you by our Etsy store. Oh my gosh, did you hear that voice crack?
That happened right as something beeped on my computer, so I was like, what's that notification? So I actually didn't hear it at all.
I gotta redo that. It went, oh god. I went through puberty. Thank you so much for joining us. This HoloNet broadcast is brought to you by our Etsy store. At etsy.com/talkabout-Tatooine, we have stickers, custom emotes, and an ISB coffee mug for you and the nerd you love. The holidays are coming soon, so if you're looking for a quick gift, buy now while supplies last. Delivery services are going to be clogged up for the holidays. In the words of Papa Palpatine, do it.
I like that. I'm also planning on putting some more stuff on our Etsy store. I just need a little bit of capital, and then I'm going to do that. I have a Narcial sword sticker that we're going to be putting up there, and then a kind of a humorous meme sticker, which is Stay Fresh Cheese Bags.
I'll take 20.
So I'm going to be putting that up there as well. So we'll have a couple of orders of those, but those should come in. But we'll see how those go. So
I actually have 3 of our stickers on my water bottle, and because I have a new 4K camera, you can see them too. I have the Imperial logo, I have the Don't Tread Rhythmically, and the Scientific Method, which is FA and FO, which is f*** around and find out.
I have our holographic Helldiver sticker, and I have also Don't Tread Rhythmically as well, which is a Dune reference. Sometimes people look at me and they're like, don't tread on me, and I'm like, you're almost there.
No. So close. All hail Shai-Hulud.
I was going to say yes, but not in the spirit that most people think of Don't Tread on Me. So it's satirical.
We are not those kind of people.
It's satirical. And if you don't get that, that's all right.
Although I really do enjoy the no step on Sneck stickers. I think they're very funny.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I am going to read the back of the book that this entire episode is based off of and give you guys a little bit of an intro into our actual content now that we're 14 minutes into recording. Unlike other young Jedi sidelined to the agricultural corps, those whose abilities have not been proved up to snuff, Hestizo Trace possesses one extraordinary force talent, a gift with plants. But suddenly, her quiet existence among greenhouse and garden specimens is violently destroyed by the arrival of an emissary from Darth Scabros, a Sith Lord with a fanatical dream poised to become nightmarish reality. For the rare black orchid that Hestizo has nurtured and bonded with, it is the final ingredient in an ancient Sith formula. Crucial to the Dark Lord's obsession, but with consequences far worse than fatal. Now, spawned by a heretofore unknown virus, the rotting, ravenous dead are rising, driven by a bloodthirsty hunger for all things living, and commanded by a Sith Master who lusts for power and the ultimate prize, immortality, no matter the cost. We are talking about Darth Scabros. We just passed Halloween a few weeks ago, and the spooky vibes were in season. And honestly, I hope they keep going. I got some horror books in my library, and they are sustaining me. Thank you, Cuddly Axolotl, for all your book recommendations. I take each one of them, and I just go for it. I read pretty much any book a person recommends to me. One novel that the both of us.
All right, Mike Tyson.
Dude, that Jake Paul kid, he's really something. Oh gosh, one novel that the both of us have read multiple times during this time of year, especially, is Red Harvest. This is a Legends novel written in 2010 by Joe Schreiber that covers the origin of a virus used in the novel Death Troopers. While this is Star Wars' attempt at horror, it's still a pretty good read, and the audiobook production includes some very haunting sounds and screams to go along with the carnage. I highly recommend. Star Wars has very high quality audiobooks.
Always a fan. Thank you, Random House Publishing.
And Mark Thompson.
Yes, and Mark Thompson. Ugh, what a dreamboat voice. The Sith are constantly trying to look for ways to become immortal. Darth Scabrous was the leader of the Sith Academy on the planet Odossar Faustin before the time of Darth Bane. So this is way long ago, guys. Just keep that in mind ago. Keep in mind.
A long time ago.
The Academy on Odossar Faustin was one of the many schools where acolytes of the dark side were brought to train in the ways of the dark side. During his studies, Scabrous identifies a certain ingredient he needs to complete his potion of immortality and hires a bounty hunter to track down a special force-sensitive flower, the Murakami orchid. Yes, there are force plants in Star Wars. If you didn't know that, now you do.
In the Star Wars universe, there is flora, fauna, and also rocks who are sentient, force sensitive, all of the above.
If it exists, it can be the Force.
Yes.
For the Force is everywhere. Anyways, unlike Plagueis' deep dive into the science of metachlorians, the thought was that Scabrous could use Sith sorcery, or also known as alchemy, and this orchid to extend his life. And this is where everything gets weird.
A fun bit of Star Wars trivia, the book was originally going to be titled Black Orchid, but the Star Wars writing team canned that because they thought it sounded too much like a romance novel, which, in their defense, it does. In my opinion, if Disney started publishing romance and or smut, there's a large section of the fan base that would be super into that. Not me, of course, no, not me.
Never.
But the crowd exists. The market and the demographic for that kind of literature exists. Okay, what is Sith sorcery? Sith sorcery, also known as Sith alchemy, is most notably used by Darth Sidious in Star Wars Rebels when Sidious actually reaches into the world between worlds and tries to fry Ezra Bridger and Ahsoka Tano. It's a really cool episode, and some fans have actually theorized that when Ezra meddled in the world between worlds, he actually bifurcated the timeline into a new story. Basically, it created a Star Wars multiverse. That is a theory. That is not canon.
Darn.
I like it, though.
The Force is a pathway that many consider to be unnatural. Sorcery is exactly what Sidious was talking about that fateful night in the Coruscant Opera. If I can be so bold, all of the greatest Sith Lord used sorcery to amplify their powers, especially under the rule of Tu, when the Lords of the dark side of the Force, were shrouded in shadows and secrecy.
Sith sorcery can basically be described as magic, even though the Force is also magic, but it's like witchy magic. Not all magic is equal. Those of you who play D&D or other role-playing games know exactly what I'm talking about. Not all aspects of the Force are looked on as favorable. For example, the Jedi use telekinesis, the manipulation of the physical world, divination, seeing the future, abjuration, which is shielding others, and enchantments, which is manipulating people's sense. The Jedi mind trick would be considered a type of enchantment. The Sith basically do the same, but twist those schools of magic for their own personal gain instead of helping society. Plus, the Lords of Darkness also dabble into fields that the Jedi don't dare touch, like necromancy, which we're going to talk a lot about, transmutation, and evocation. Evocation is actually the raw release of energy. This would be like Force lightning. Pretty much every Force power can be categorized into one of the schools of magic described in Dungeons & Dragons. It's actually a really interesting way to categorize Force powers and like why some Jedi don't use them.
Yes, many Jedi have gone on record condemning many different types of Force magics.
Yes.
Studious Star Wars nerds will point to the Night Sisters of Dathomir as avid darkside sorcerers. They bring their dead back to life in the defense against the Confederacy of Independent Systems, darkside voodoo when the matriarch of the Night Sister Coven almost unalives Count Dooku across space in a spectral assassination of sorts, and conjuring their own weapons able to block lightsabers, shoot Ichor lightning, and absolutely juicing up Maul's brother Savage into a beef castle of anger and murder. Dave Filoni really likes his goths. If you want to catch these animated examples of dark side alchemy, you can catch them in Star Wars The Clone Wars. I believe the first couple of episodes that mention the Night Sisters are in season 3, and there's additional episodes in season 4 and potentially season 5 as well. We find other examples of Sith alchemy also in Legends, especially revolving around Naga Sato, which if you guys play any of the Knights of the Old Republic games, you'll hear him referenced quite a bit, Exar Kun, and of course Darth Plagueis, along with many of the others. The most common uses of alchemy in Legends, not necessarily what we see on TV, but in Legends tend to be around creating beasts, which Exar Kun has done quite a bit, and living for as long as possible. They're like, this is cool to be able to do all these powers, but we need to live as long as possible. Sith don't want to die.
The use of dark side sorcery is probably the entire reason that the Sith are able to go unnoticed in the first place and basically undermine the Jedi until they just collapse. It's because like the Jedi hold themselves away from certain parts of the Force, and the Sith are like, we're going to use all of the Force. And ultimately, I think that's why they're so successful. I mean, they're bad and they're evil, but they got done.
It totally is. It's because they don't put boundaries on themselves.
Correct. They're like, with no accountability, I can do anything. And then they did. They did whatever they want. Okay, back to Scabros. Having obtained the orchid and mixing it into some sort of machine or contraption, Darth Scabros ends up unintentionally creating a zombie poison instead of his elixir of immortality. The Dark Headmaster of Odacer Faustin doesn't realize this until he feeds the potion intravenously into one of his students. What word came out of my mouth just there?
Ponus.
Hate that. Don't know why I said it. Being a Sith Lord, Scabros wasn't about to use it on himself, and he wasn't about to be his own test subject, so instead he actually abducts one of his weaker students and tests the concoction on him. Again, because he's evil. From this point on, absolutely everything goes off the rails. The captured student manages to escape with the corrupted energy of the Murakami Orchid in his veins. He is filled with a lust for blood and essentially turns into a Star Wars zombie. Not a slow zombie either, like one of the Zeds from World War Z with no regard for life or limb, just whipping themselves around and biting anything they can get their teeth on. From there, the students and staff at the academy all become infected, falling one by one to the curse of the orchid and devolve into a horde of flesh-hungry monsters. Being strong with the Force, Scabros is able to devise a plan to survive without being overcome by the virus in the most gruesome way possible. He devises a plan that depends on the sacrifice and consumption of a Jedi's heart. It can't be any Jedi, though. It must be the heart of the Orchid's handler, Hestizo Trace. She's the Jedi we mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Trace was brought along with the orchid in order to keep it alive, since it's actually a sentient flower that she had bonded with. She manages to escape with the help of the same bounty hunter that captured her, and her brother who follows her to the planet after she is captured. They essentially communicate through the Force over a huge portion of space, and he tries to come rescue her. When the Whippid hunter, not Whippet, the drug, a Whippid named Tulk, that's the bounty hunter, realizes that he couldn't conscience leaving Hestizo on a planet of flesh-eating humanoids. He does an immediate about-face. Bounty hunting? That's just business. This was a massacre. It was a bloody orgy that could not be allowed to claim another victim. If this had been in the 40K universe, this would be the equivalent of the grandfather breaching the mortal plane and swelling his ranks with psyker-powered nurglings. Are we allowed to mix fandoms? Is that allowed?
It's always allowed.
Surely no one will be weird about that in the comments.
This story is a small foray into Star Wars horror, and we both wish could be more of this. Trace and her brother, is it Rojo or Rojo?
I think it's Rojo.
Rojo are able to defeat Scabros at the sacrifice of Rojo's life. So he doesn't make it, which really sucks. Also, fun fact, Scabros is super deceitful and actually uses the Academy's librarian, who is a neti, which is a species of shape-shifting sentient plants, which is super cool, which is how it's described in the book. It kind of describes the librarian as this infected zombie tree, essentially. So you can kind of think of, oh, what are the tree monsters from
The Drengir.
the Drengir? Very much gives Drengir vibes. So I think that's super cool. But he basically uses that librarian to mimic the voice of the Origami Orchid to speak to Trace to lure her to the library, which he is then trying to like cut out her heart, eventually fails, then they get away.
Yeah, big Kali Ma energy.
Absolutely. The idea of Sith alchemy is super interesting and is not explored very widely outside the Night Sisters and current canon. Once again, Disney let the real creatives take the wheel. Scabrous was a powerful leader. Not only was he smart enough to devise and track down the orchid, he was also adept at mind control. So this is actually something we don't see in a lot of other Sith, but he could directly take control of the minds of others. And we actually see this happen earlier in the Book of Red Harvest, where a more powerful student who's actually under the tutelage of Scabrous actually uses this ability and almost kills the initial test subject for the Murakami Orchid. It's all just one horrible circle of deceit and dark side powers. It's a really good book, guys. You guys should read it. He, as in Scabrous, was in the process of teaching some of his students this ability when the virus overtook the school. Scabrous got the original idea from his long dead predecessor, Darth Dreer, who I didn't know about until researching for this episode, who attempted something similar with the base elixir and eating the heart of the Jedi. So he actually had this recipe. Do you want to call it a recipe? I don't know. For this elixir already on hand because he found it in a Sith holocron. But Darth Dreer, his predecessor, ate the heart of a Jedi. The Jedi didn't have enough midichlorians. I don't know if it's like a sodium content thing, like didn't have enough like milligrams of midichlorians. I mean, you guys know the midichlorians are kind of weird, right?
Yes.
Basically, Darth Dreer died because this process didn't work. He didn't have enough midichlorians taking in. So Scabrous was like, well, I'm going to test this out on other people first, because why would I test it out on myself? That seems very silly. So at least he's learning from his predecessors. But Scabrous did find all of this process. He didn't come up with it on its own. He actually found it in a Sith holocron and was attempting to refine the process as all good Sith do.
For sure. Small spoiler warning for those who want to read Red Harvest and Death Troopers. We probably should have put a spoiler warning at the beginning of the episode, but it came out 15 years ago, so we're fine. During their escape, Tolk ends up getting bit and is...
Tolk doesn't get bit. He's the Whippet, right? No, he originally gets infected because of the, I believe, saliva of an infected tauntaun drips into his eye.
Oh, right. That's worse. I feel like that's worse.
It is worse. Let me double check that really quick. Tolk was infected back on the planet when an infected tauntaun spittle dripped into his eye. Yep.
Gross. So what ends up happening is Tolk and Hestizo actually escape. They exit the atmosphere of Odacer Fausen, and he begins to turn. Due to his larger size, it takes a hot minute for him to devolve into a flesh-hungry beast. Hestizo doesn't stand a chance. Both her and Tolk are brought into the fold of the disease powered by the dark side of the Force, and their minds are stripped bare. It doesn't take much time until both of them starve and pass away, but the virus itself is preserved in their flesh, frozen in space and time, and as their life support eventually fails and their ship drifts through the void of space. That is a run-on sentence. I really need to work on that. Hundreds of years go by, then thousands, and still the virus endures in stasis. From the back flap of the book, Death Troopers, no fate could be more terrifying than being trapped inside deep space, unless there's something unknown out there with you.
Now, we've officially moved from Red Harvest to the book Death Troopers. Thanks, Darth Scabrous. You've left a very Strong legacy. An Imperial Star Destroyer finds the Whippet's ship. The virus reawakens, and whether through the negligence of the crew of the ISD not following their quarantine protocols, or the virus in its hunger overpowers the crew, every single crew member is killed and taken over by the virus. Shambling through the halls and decks of the workhorse of the Imperial Navy are the husks of stormtroopers and crew members. Now that the virus has made its home and decimated the crew, the ISD was set adrift in space similar to the ship before it. How would any other ship know what happened? When the Imperial prison ship Purge sets upon the ISD, it has no way of knowing better, and they dock with the Star Destroyer.
So now that we've gone down the Star Wars horror hole, Jane, what would be some events in Star Wars canon or legend that you would like to see on the big screen?
I mean, this is definitely one of them. It's hard for me to not say, yeah, I want Star Wars zombies. Like, they could do this exact story and I'd be okay with it. However, if they weren't going to do this, I would want them to do more Star Wars kaiju, specifically like the Zillo Beast and then the creature slash mech from Bad Batch. You know what I'm talking about? There's that one episode, it's like a throwaway episode where they encountered this like giant mechanized creature and they basically blow it up and they're like, hey, look at this thing we don't know anything about. And then they just destroy the whole thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I totally know what you're talking about. It's very, it reminds me a lot of the creatures in Horizon Zero Dawn that are like techno beasts, but not the techno beasts from Star Wars that are like rancors with dark side machinery welded into their flesh. That'd be great too, actually. That's a good idea. But monsters are scary. Star Wars has some scary monsters. Give us Star Wars horror. It'd be great.
Yeah. One monster that you actually can fight in a few different Star Wars IPs is specifically the Tarantatech and is mentioned several times in games, and I think maybe by Yoda at one point in the Clone Wars.
Yep.
And I'm like, nothing is scarier than a coked out Sith monster like the Tarantatech. Like, that would be so cool.
Because they're essentially like fueled by the dark side of the Force. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Because I think you fight one in the Shadowlands of Kashyyyk. So because Kashyyyk, the homeworld of the Wookiees, has these really tall Roshar trees, they are basically skyscrapers of trees. There's no sunlight that actually permeates the base of the planet. And that's actually where monsters like the Tarantatech live. You go down there in the Knights of the Old Republic games, and they are everywhere. And they are so hard to kill.
Yes.
They're really strong. Essentially, the Shadowlands of Kashyyyk is like a skill check for your character to say, if you can't beat this, you're not ready for the end game.
Absolutely.
I think for me, the brainworms from the Clone Wars Season 2, specifically episodes 7 and 8, titled Legacy of Terror and Brain Invaders, are some of the scariest things. Specifically, a memory that I had from childhood that makes brainworms sound so scary. RFK, you might want to stop listening. For the brainworms, I firmly believe that this episode was inspired from the SETI eels from The Wrath of Khan. In this scene from The Wrath of Khan, the Star Trek film, Khan extracts these eels and explains how they crawl into a person's ears and wrap themselves around their cerebral cortex. Khan and his men proceed to put the eels inside the helmets of the Starfleet personnel, and they force the helmets back onto their wearers, and the worms immediately crawl into their ears. Oh gosh, hate it. This scene has drilled itself into my memory, and I'm 100% certain I was way too young to see that movie because it scarred me. It lives in my head to this day as one of the scariest things ever. Even though I rewatched it for this episode because I couldn't remember what really happened, and I was like, yeah, that's scary and freaky, but it's not like terrifying. As a child, mortified.
Yeah.
And then the Zillo Beast, I agree. It's pretty self-explanatory. Giant monsters are awesome.
100%. Guys, thank you so much for listening through our episode on Darth Scabrous and Sith sorcery. Coming up next, we're going to be chatting about news from the HoloNet. Our first piece of news: the war in the wasteland rages on. I have a good start on our streaming series, Achievement Hunting. Keep in mind that Andrew and I are both full time workers, and we are going to try to accomplish and publish as consistently as possible. Fallout recaps will be posted on Wednesdays and Fridays over on YouTube, and I'll usually be streaming on Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Thursdays and Sundays are always tentative because, again, I am a human who needs to get his stuff done, and those days fill up very quick. Monday's my most consistent day.
Another reminder for our lovely viewers, we have an Etsy shop. Make sure to go over there if you have any small holiday stocking stuffers you want to add in for your fellow nerd.
There are many stirrings across the multiverse, and we are keenly interested in the goings-on of alternate realities. Sources have confirmed that the release date of Marvel's What If Season 3 is on December 22nd, 2024, right in time for Christmas.
Christmas!
Merry Chrysler.
Merry Christmas! Soon-to-be Rebel spy Cassian Andor is returning to Disney Plus on April 22nd, 2025. As you know, we are avid supporters of the Rebel Alliance and will be tracking his activities with great interest. This is a big one for the two of us. The battle for Tertium rages on. There have been multiple updates for Warhammer Darktide spotted in the Machine Spirits code. The rejects of the Imperial Guard are receiving a substantial influx of fighters, as Darktide is slated to release on PlayStation Tuesday, December 3rd. That's a big win.
Yeah.
I love when games are cross-platform. And I know it's more work for the game developers, but I just want to say thank you to them because I really appreciate being able to play with my friends who have PlayStation. I think the console wars are stupid, and I just want to be able to play with everyone.
Absolutely.
Additionally, the Forces of Chaos have upped their push on the Hive City, citing something called the Grandfather's Gifts. This limited time event is available in-game now. Additionally, Vox Traffic has picked up and decoded 2 words from the traitor forces on Tertium: Grim Protocol. We are sending out a special kill team specializing in reconnaissance to obtain more information for the Emperor.
We also have some news on Skeleton Crew. Another anomaly has crossed our long-range sensors. Whereabouts of this Skeleton Crew, along with their purpose and goals, have yet to be revealed. The two of us here at Talk About Tatooine will send out our own probe droids for more information. Skeleton Crew is hitting Disney Plus on Tuesday, December 3rd.
Incoming transmission. Captain Titus has been reassigned after multiple victories against the war against the Tyranids. While we expect to see Titus in action, we will also have the opportunity to observe other warriors in their fields of war across space and time. The first episode of Secret Level is airing Tuesday, December 10th on Amazon Prime.
Didn't know that. That's awesome. Space Marine 2 Season 2 is going to be landing soon. Praise the Emperor. Upgrades to Astartes war gear have arrived. With the arrival of Marnius Calgar in the theater of war, Space Marine strike teams have been given full access to the Neo-Volkite pistol. Stay strong, soldiers of the Imperium. We are pushing the Xenos and the Heretic back from the worlds of Avarax, Gadaku, and Demirium. Be warned. The Tyranid menace has ramped up their push in order to swing the tide in their favor. They have deployed one of their largest bioforms, the Hierophant Biotitan. Not to be confused with the Terminid Biotitan, which is totally different according to the Legio Administratum, i.e. the actually nerds in the YouTube comments.
I had fun writing that. Just a real cutback. We actually posted a short saying that the Terminids and the Tyranids were really similar, which they are, and some people got so upset over that. They're like, no, they're actually totally different, and they're not at all the same. And it's like, you guys, they are though. They're pretty much the same thing. They're like, actually, because of all these really minor differences, that basically means they're totally different. And it's like, you guys need to find a different hobby.
If you put those two next to each other, they're going to be the same thing.
And the Helldivers developers are actually known Warhammer fans.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah. Helldivers is directly inspired by 2 things: Warhammer 40,000 and Starship Troopers.
Yep.
That is confirmed. It's not, it's actually not an argument at this point because the developers have agreed. But people get upset over stupid things on the internet. We're not political at all on this channel, and people still manage to get so salty about things that at the end of the day are supposed to be, or are meant to bring joy. And they're like, no, actually, I'm going to die on this hill. And it's like, Relax. Relax.
Yeah, this molehill is my deathbed. We also have a lot of Star Wars Outlaw updates as well. Title update 1.3.0 for Star Wars Outlaws is live as of this recording and has been for several weeks, according to our slicing sources. For our scoundrel friends out there, how are you enjoying the update? Let us know. The patch notes list multiple bug fixes at the launch of the bug reporting tool. To those of you who report bugs, you are making the game better for everybody. Thank you. Our next and fourth title update will be released on November 21st, and this is going to be our biggest one yet, with exciting new features and improvements. Stay tuned for more details coming your way soon.
That is a direct developer quote.
There's also implemented stealth changes to false flag and other missions to give players more flexibility in how they approach situations without the risk of failing. There's also improved speed or travel by reducing collisions with objects in the environment. Andrew, that's so good for you.
I crash a lot in that game. Some other changes, there's improved NPC combat behavior, increased autosave opportunities in open world hostile areas, Imperial compounds, and faction territories. The scaled wanted difficulty is now based on player progression. They improved AI speeder avoidance. Again, great news for me. I hit stuff all the time. They implemented some performance and stability updates and literally dozens of other changes and improvements to gameplay, the UI, audio, cinematics, camera movement, worlds, flora and fauna, sabacc, photo mode, accessibility, which is super important, and what they call miscellaneous, which is like we couldn't find a category for it. The scientists here at Talk About Tatooine are busy slaving away in the labs of Tantus, working on splitting the human consciousness in order to play and research the other worlds under our jurisdiction. Other alien species will come after successful human trials and a satisfactory fatality rate.
Guys, thank you so much for listening with us today. We got through a little bit of Star Wars lore, we made too many Warhammer references, and we got caught up on the news. Thank you guys so much for supporting us, especially our patrons, Mike, Isaac, David, and the Calm Brew, who is our biggest supporter over on Twitch. You guys are the reason we do this, and honestly, you guys are the reason we're able to make those moves to get new audio equipment, so seriously, thank you guys so much. For just $5 a month, you can support us here at Talk About Tatooine so we can do more awesome things like giveaways, gaming events, and higher quality content. It is due to your support that we make this happen. However, we are a long way from where we need to be, so consider supporting us over on Patreon. If you can't do that, watch our videos. We need those watch hours, guys, over on YouTube. That is one of the best ways to support us, and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yep, for sure.
Thank you everyone for watching. Every single one of you guys watching is amazing. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe so this video can find its way to as many as possible. Until next time, may the Force be with you.